Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Stargirl Season 1, Episode 4. It's called Wildcat. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. So this episode lets us get to know Yolanda quite a bit more. We start with a flashback sequence with her, what happened a few months ago, the reason why she has this reputation at the school, the reason why Cindy hates her so much, and we kind of peel that back. Now, it does quite quickly from there obviously go back to present day. I was actually questioning for the first couple of minutes, like, oh, I wonder how long we're going to stay in the flashbacks here. Are we going to like be cutting back to them throughout the episode? Are we going to, I didn't necessarily think it was going to be like the whole episode was going to be just her story in the past, because that would feel a bit odd 4 episodes in. That's the sort of thing you can get away with, like, near the end of a season. It's like, okay, we have to reveal why this character's so important now, so we're going to do a full episode on them. Don't get me wrong, this was still very much focused on her, still very much her story, this episode. And, given that these characters, I think in Yolanda, Beth, and the dude, who's
Rick.
the name? Rick, there you go. Yes, and you'll remember that because it's Rick Tyler.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm like, well, I know it's not Rex.
Yeah. So, this was kind of our first chance to actually properly get to know one of them. It's more than just a fleeting passing glance or, line of dialogue. Like, the most we could have told you about any of them really was probably Beth and her unhealthy relationship with her parents, which has also advanced a little bit in this episode. But so what did you make of this one?
I thought this was the weakest episode so far. This is the one that felt the most CW.
I can see that. I
just thought some of the elements were a bit rougher than I've come to expect from the show. But there's still things I like in here. It's not a bad episode overall. I felt myself comparing it to Riverdale in this episode.
That's always a good sign.
Yeah, like within like that first like opening sequence, I was like, this is feeling like it's out of Riverdale or something. That was the vibe I was getting from it.
There's things I like and dislike about this episode. I would say that there are some elements that feel a bit more CW-esque, which I think is a fair thing to say. But there are some, I don't want to say ballsy, they're not quite ballsy, but there's definitely some choices with the story that I thought were interesting. Particularly Yolanda's family, I thought was an interesting beat to get to the end of the episode. Have her, essentially, because we'll get into the details in a minute or two, but essentially, this episode is that Courtney seeks her out, convinces her to, come over and basically find out she's Stargirl and all that stuff. Because she's essentially selected, because she does, kickboxing or whatever. She's seen her in the school yearbook, the championship photos and stuff. So she goes kind of gunning for her as kind of a misfit who might be willing to join her little ragtag group. And by the end of the episode, she has kind of a successful test run with the outfit and doing some superheroics, and ultimately says, I don't really want this though, because I'm still struggling with becoming myself again after everything that happened, after essentially I'll say a sensitive photo was leaked to the public, and by public I mean all of her high school peers,
and teachers,
and possibly to everyone. More on my thoughts on some specifics there in a minute, but but she makes this big choice saying, no, this sounds great, I actually appreciate what you're trying to do, but I have to be comfortable being myself again before I can even consider starting something new like this. And I'm like, well, she's obviously going to make the choice to be Wildcat, if not this episode, then later on in the season, because the time is going to be called for it, essentially. Now, and again, I didn't have long to think about this in this moment in the episode, because it doesn't actually last that long before she makes the choice, but I could have seen it being okay, so she sort of turns it down for now. But then when some shit goes down later, maybe she suits up because it's the time, she's needed, she feels needed. Maybe she has an arc as well where she does feel more accepted for who she is over the course of the season. And I thought it was actually an interesting dynamic to have her go to her family, because we see throughout the episode, because the opening that you were talking about where it was very light and bubbly before the big thing happens, her family love her. The family love that she's running for student election or student president or whatever, and she's her mum's bubbly, she's got the badge on, and her dad's really charming, and he's the loving father. And throughout the episode, they all treat her like shit. Everyone but her brother. Her brother's actually very sympathetic towards her, but everyone else in the family, her parents and her grandmother, are absolutely horrible to her. Act as if she's brought shame upon the family because of what she's done, even though ultimately it wasn't her fault. But that's that's a whole other debate to get into. And she says, look, I've been like eternally. I've been grounded without an end date.
Yes, and it's already been months, she says, because it was a little unclear exactly how long it was at first, I think.
No, it wasn't. It said at the start of the episode 3 months ago.
Oh, did it? Oh, yeah, fair enough. I obviously missed that little caption, because the way it played with the time, at first I was a little confused. Obviously, having missed that, it played it like, has this been a couple of weeks, or has this been like months? I wasn't actually sure at first, just because I missed that.
Yeah, it couldn't have been any clearer. It was 3 months ago.
Fair enough.
But she comes in and says, look, I've been punished this whole time. You've treated me awfully, and I love you all, but there's a time comes where I've definitely felt the consequences of this, and even once you forgive me, I still have to deal with the reputation I have in school, and I have to be me. I have to move forward. This can't be the defining thing for me for forever. We have to move on from this. And tries to apologize once again and ask for forgiveness. But notably, she does say the sentence, I'm done apologizing. And I thought that was actually quite a mature thing where you're kind of on her side with this, but like, yeah, okay, like, first of all, I think the accurate reaction from the parents really should have been, oh, someone leaked a photo you sent, and, maybe you shouldn't be sending photos like that yet at this age, but that's actually quite minor to the fact that someone betrayed your trust and spread them around. I'd be gunning for the person who did that, I think, if I was a parent.
Different culture, I think.
I guess, but the parents basically say, nope, get out of the way of the TV. We're never forgiving you, is essentially the response. And maybe that's something that she'll win that eventually over the course of the show, over the course of the season or whatever. But her mother basically says, no, you can't go back to being who you were. You've disgraced this family. Go up to your room. They completely don't react to her at all. I thought that was an interesting dynamic to take, and it's more that she makes this choice to go be Wildcat, not because she's inspired in any way. It actually felt very reasonable to me that she gravitates towards it because Courtney's the one person who's actually encouraging her to be something and not judging her for something she's already done.
Yeah, I agree. I think I would have liked just a little bit of time before, this after this beat where she's turned it down, she goes to her family and they kind of, just reject her. I think I would have liked it more if just for an episode she could have just sat in that state before she came back around to go, all right, fine then, I'll go be Wildcat.
I think the potential problem with that, well, I see where you're coming from, is that I think I would feel even more frustrated in a CW sense that she just basically waits an episode to then have that moment with little prompting. Like, I'm not sure what would prompt that moment any better than the actual incident of her parents basically saying, no, we're not forgiving you. Like, we're basically turning our backs on you.
I mean, I think ultimately it would come down to something in the vein of Courtney being in trouble and her just having to make that decision to help there and then and there, and then being like, and then continuing from there rather than just completely unprompted.
Yeah, well, I think that's why I like this though, is that I think the something prompting her because there's a danger, because Courtney's in trouble, or because it's time to act. Like, there's nothing wrong with that tactic. Like that was what I was expecting to do. I think I like this because it did something different that felt just as convincing, which was like, no, Courtney's literally the only person who's not treating her like shit, so she's going to gravitate towards that. If not because she feels she can do some good as Wildcat, just purely because, hey, she actually has a chance to grow and be someone.
No, I don't dispute any of this. I just think it slightly undermines, for me, the whole speech she gives, before this to Courtney about how she kind of needs to figure out who she is before diving into this other, Wildcat identity. And I think just some time for her to reflect on that rather than, okay, she has the conversation with the parents and it goes badly. Fair enough. But then she immediately kind of goes straight back to Wildcat. I would have liked some reflection on, the whole speech that she did give to Courtney in the first place, and not just, okay, instead of it hinging on Wildcat, it hinged just on her parents instead. It kind of undermined that a little bit for me.
I don't know if I agree, just purely because I feel like the point it's making is quite simple with her character here. Like, she basically has the door shut. She says she wants to be the person she was, and then her mother tells her in the exact words, you can't be the person you were. She shuts that door on her. And with that door shut, then it's like, well, what else is she going to do but try something new? I will maybe agree that the final scene of her showing up at Courtney's window in costume could have probably been cut. I feel like her just walking in, seeing like Courtney's left the costume at her window for her with the note saying, you know, I need you, and then a little, you know, doodle of a cat head and a star. Like, I think her just smiling at that would have given us the idea that that's where she's going, without the more sort of, I don't know, inner face. Like, she's actually went over to Courtney's, and Courtney has the, yeah, I've succeeded sort of beat.
Yeah, I think it's more that moment that I thought was a bit much. Speaking of cutting things, though, I suspect there's very little cut for the CW for this one, because it was only about 42 minutes.
Yeah, no, this was it. I mean, at most maybe a minute, because sometimes those TV earrings are about a 41-minute runtime as opposed to 42. We have obviously the journey of her becoming Wildcat, and which ultimately just boils down to Courtney says, I've got a thing for you. I want you to come see what I can do. And I did like the small beat, though, that she kind of breaks through to, because Yolanda keeps telling her to piss off, basically. She does ask to go and is shot down by her mother. That's kind of our first big example of seeing how her parents treat her now. And she doesn't go, so she's kind of like... Again, this kind of worked for me in the sense that she's being so kind of mean to Courtney when Courtney comes to see her the next day. Like, you don't get it, I don't want to be there. But we saw that she did. She did ask her parents. She's just too proud and embarrassed to actually admit why she couldn't go.
Yeah,
and
pretty much.
Courtney, I do like the small detail that Courtney gets through to her, because when she's looking through the photos from the school website or whatever it is, and she sees one with Henry, she's like, Henry? That's an avenue to take. And so she just sort of says, hey, I'm the one who blew up his car. And that's, of course, makes Yolanda's eye go, wait, what?
It's, yeah, pretty reasonable response.
Do speak more, because obviously she has a grudge to bear with him. And let's get her sort of over and sees the staff, and you know, her reactions to a bunch of things were kind of fun. I think my favourite thing about all this is that Courtney makes her wear the actual Wildcat outfit from the GSA headquarters, and I appreciated that she did act as if this stinks. What the hell? Like, this is so smelly.
This is sweaty old man clothes.
Yes. Also, they don't fit her at all. So this was a bit of a like, oh, okay, they're doing this. So the self-fitting seems to be nanite technology, Black Panther-esque version of the Wildcat suit that we're dealing with here. What's your feeling on this?
I don't understand why, basically. I mean, you know, when Courtney did, she was like, well, I can do some stuff. I made my suit. Like, I can tailor that one. Why not just do that? Just tell us she did it off camera.
Well, I know why. I don't think it's hard to question why. It's just, as well or not we like it's another... Because the why is quite simple. It's two reasons. One, it's a bunch of shortcuts to get us to certain things quicker. And two, it gives Wildcat actual abilities beyond just she can punch and kick things.
Well, yeah, that... See, this is an interesting, because Yolanda, as Wildcat in the comics, briefly, she did have powers, but not because of any Wildcat suit, just she had powers. But other Wildcats don't, obviously.
Well, that was your answer then. This was the shortcut to just...
try and combine the two. Yeah, it's kind of weird and murky, though.
This was their way of saying, okay, give her some ability so she's not just a teenager, you know, fighting. Because Stargirl obviously has the staff, and that gives her a lot of benefit, and maybe she'll actually get the proper belt at some point where she'll have the cosmic belt. I mean, who knows? But I
think it bugs me a little bit that they felt the need to introduce them into the suit rather than just she has powers. Because we've seen... other people have powers. Like Henry is pretty clearly going to have powers if he doesn't already properly. There are hints, but like, so it's kind of like she could just have powers. It doesn't need to be in the suit. Feels a bit weird to combine that for me.
I mean, she could do, but obviously the choice was made because they didn't want to have to explain where the powers come from. They didn't want to have to give her some kind of origin that gave her powers, or
she's just born powers. It's fine.
They'd have to do something with it, and you know it. You know what they're like.
Oh, well, that's only because of stupid TV producer insistence, not because of any actual writing reasons.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of these things where, like, I don't necessarily like the high-tech Wildcat suit, but it almost feels like it's trying to answer that like... Again, the fact that the character in the comics had powers, I can kind of see the weird, sort of marrying the two together to just kind of make it work in a quick way. On its own, it kind of bugs me that they felt the need to kind of answer the old question that a lot of like pedantic fans will have as well. How can the one with no powers hang with all these other people that have got powers and like high-tech gadgets and stuff? And it feels like an answer to that. That's what I felt anyway, as it was kind of kicking in. But at the same time, I can't deny that I did have fun with the actual, like, oh shit, I've got claws that can cut through metal. You know, I appreciated the gag with the toaster, so that, you know, the little brother came in and tried to use his Pop-Tarts.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind the claws, because they don't seem super, like, yeah, powery, if you know what I mean. Like, they're a technical expansion, but I mean, that's within the capabilities of a suit.
Well, apart from the fact that the metal's like so strong that it cuts through.
Sure, but it's a strong metal. Like, I can buy that. That doesn't bother me too much. It's more the whole, it always lands on the feet, and, you know, all the jumps and like the balance and the agility. It retroactively makes. Okay, so here's the thing: Yolanda having these powers herself would not bother me, because it's like, okay, she's got those. Giving them to the suit, it retroactively makes, you know, Ted, the original Wildcat, weaker, because he had these powers the whole time as well. It wasn't just him, and that kind of takes a lot away from that character in this world for me.
Does that matter that much in this world though, when he is literally just a character from the history?
It takes some of the legacy of just, hey, no, there was ordinary people who kind of just stood alongside these superpowered beings. I think is an important aspect of any superhero team, and inspiring the next generation here specifically.
That's what Pat's for.
I mean,
hey, you can't argue that he has no powers. Come on, there.
No, I can't. He has a cool ass mech suit though.
Yeah, he didn't have that back then, though. That's something he's built.
No, he
over...
didn't, and he was shit back then.
Exactly. So it's done a thing.
He wasn't inspiring back then. Wildcat, as a senior member, would have been inspiring.
I don't know. I don't. I'm just kind of in the middle on it. Like, I don't hate it, but I don't necessarily love it either. It's just kind of what it is. Like, I'll probably just get used to it. Is that that's this show's version of the Wildcat kind of idea?
Like, here's the thing. Like, I'm complaining about it now, like, and because I don't really like this or that about it, but I'm not gonna bring this up every time we see Wildcat.
Yeah.
I'm getting out of my system now while we're talking about it.
Yeah. I enjoyed the climbing up the building. I like the idea that they've set up that she can do that, and that's like one of the things she can do with her claws, and you know, they sort of the almost Spider-Man-esque like agility of like hiding on the ceiling and stuff like that. Very, very quickly, might I add, because there's obviously the whole scene is that they go to, you know, Brainmove in the hospital, and they want to spy on him and find out who's going to visit him, thinking, oh, maybe the other supervillains will go and see him. And we find out the principal seems to be the fiddler, given the fiddling that goes on.
That would stand to reason.
I mean, there's no costume or anything, but she walks out and plays the fiddle, so there's yes, there was that's the title of this review on YouTube. There was a lot of fiddling going on. I'm
it's
kidding.
like you're asking YouTube to review it.
Exactly, which is why I'm not going to do it, because I know YouTube will not take the joke and they will just flag it. So, you know, we see. There was a little gag here that I really appreciated. It goes back to Stargirl and the staff's kind of relationship. Is that she goes to cut the power in the hospital to help Yolanda sneak about, and the staff's like pulling her away, going, "No, you can't do this." Essentially, obviously without the dialogue, but it's pulling her away.
It's very expressive though.
She tries it like 3 times, and then she sort of like complains about it, and Yolanda like, over the comms is like, wait, what's going on? What are you trying to do? She's like, I'm trying to turn off the power so you can sneak about in the dark. She's like, are you crazy? There's people on ventilators in here.
He's like, don't do that, you stupid prick.
She's like, oh, that's a good point. Yeah, maybe the staff's got a point. Maybe I shouldn't be turning off the power.
Oh, yeah. And then the staff proceeds to trash the room for her.
Yes.
To cause a distraction. But I mean, again, the staff personality is really shining through.
I think I enjoyed the back half of this episode quite a bit more than the first half. I think the first half does have some interesting beats, but suffered a little bit from, you know, Courtney trying to talk to her over and over again. That was a little bit repetitive, and it probably was at its most CW. I think there's an interesting beat to talk about though with Cindy the bully, who after one thing in this episode, I looked her up specifically and realized that she's actually someone, and not just Cindy.
Should I know who this is?
I mean, I don't know. It depends what you've read, I suppose. But you familiar with Shiv?
Oh, yes.
That's a Shiv. This is a Shiv. And the reason why I looked this up is because there's a scene with the villains where Dragon King mentions his daughter, and because he says I've been working with my daughter, and I'm like, wait a minute. Given how many characters in this show have been revealed to be like the parents of kids at the school, I was like, okay, who's his, like, I'm going to look up who's the daughter, and it was like Shiv, and it just said her name. It's Cindy, Burnham. I'm like, oh, okay, the bully's Shiv, all right.
Spoilers, I guess.
I guess, but I mean, it's not like they're hiding her name. That's her name in the comics too. She's just not that well known a character, clearly.
No, I've read a few things with her in, not much, but
you didn't know her actual name, though. Clearly,
no. I know Shiv. I can picture her outfit and in context, but her identity, nah.
Because I want to bring up something from episode 1. There was a moment in episode 1 where she had Courtney's number, and Courtney's like, "Wait, how did you get that?" And she just kind of glosses over. It's like, don't worry about that. I have everyone's number. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because there's some suspicious activity here in the flashbacks at the start, showing us what happened, where she was, Yolanda was dating Henry, and he asked for a photo, and I actually didn't even think it was him at first. I thought someone had hacked his account, and it was actually, what's her face, Cindy, pretending to be him, asking for a photo to ruin her, because you could see she's jealous of her from beforehand. And the next day, like, it did look like he was being a dick and showing it to his friends. So he's not in the clear here.
He's already in the shit list.
Yeah. So he's not in the clear here. He is a dickhead. But it does seem like Cindy's the one who actually somehow spread it around to everyone.
I was very confused with this. I'm glad you've mentioned that there's things going on, because I was very confused, because she takes Henry's phone out of his hand while he's showing it to his friends, but he does snatch it back pretty quickly. I'm not even sure she managed to get a look, frankly.
Yeah. But if she did, or she at least suspected a reason that there's something good to find, which she wouldn't even to see it for, she'd just be like, he's hiding something. I need to,
Sure, yeah, that's fine. But it was then, suddenly it was on her phone and she was sending it to everyone. I was like, how is she doing this? Where did she get the picture from?
But this is the second time she's had, well, potentially, assuming it's her, which it seems to be, this is the second time she's had sort of access to a phone piece of data that she shouldn't have. So... Yeah. I suspect that given her father is a supervillain, and that she will one day be a villain herself, that is probably something to do with it, and that's why she's so awful. It's just straight up.
Stands to reason. There's something I dislike about these shows, especially with the CW versions, where everyone who's a little shit has to be evil. Like, they have to be the supervillain. It's fine. Some teenagers are just terrible people.
I'll give this one a little bit of credit, and at least this is a pre-established character who is supposed to be a villain from the get-go.
Right, but I think it's that one I could probably take a leave, but it's on top of all the others, where it's like it just kind of feels like every time there's someone who's a bit of a shitty person in the school, guess they're a villain.
Yeah, we're at the point now though where I think if we went past the point where revealing that one of the kids' parents is one of the supervillains, have we done that enough now that it stopped being cliche and started being hilariously funny, because they've done it so many times now?
I'll tell you for sure when they explicitly reveal this one.
That's true.
And if I find it funny or not.
Well, that's the thing, we already know though, so...
but now I'm going to be watching it in context of the scene of, is this amusing now? When it happens. So we'll see.
Yeah. I should mention that Beth did recognise Yolanda climbing up the building away after the hospiple, so that's
she's on track to be Midnight.
She's on track to be the new Midnight.
I know the next episode is titled Dr. Midnight and Hourman, so we get both of those next time. And
get a twofer.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't think it's any real surprise that she's going to be Midnight.
No, not at all. Well, again, the posters clearly show her in the outfit. It's not.
Yeah,
it's not a secret. Yeah. So. Yeah, I mean, I would say I liked most of the episode overall. It definitely felt a little bit less... Like, Courtney was more of a supporting player in this episode, and that almost was to its discredit, because she is really good, and she's very likeable, especially with the staff, and all those elements. Because there was one scene actually earlier on with Pat that I didn't like that much, until the very ending of it. And the reason for that is because it felt like it was just, we're doing the same thing, where he's saying we can't do this, and she's like, no, I want to go out there and fight the bad guys. He's like, no, it's too dangerous, we can't do it. I was like, okay, I've heard this conversation already, and I was kind of annoyed, like, this is adding nothing new. But to be fair, well, most of the scene was still that, the end point did actually raise an interesting bit of, speculation, where he says, I'll gather enough information, take it to the authorities, And Courtney says, "Yeah, but what if they are the authorities?" And then walks out, and he's like, "Huh." And I'm like, "Yeah, that was a valid new bit of like thought process."
I think the exchange beforehand probably could have been condensed down, but at least it justified it by the end, right? So I mean, it's better than just if we hadn't had that beat, I would actually be annoyed at it doing that. Whereas now, I'm like, okay, fine, it was a bit clunky, and you could have done it better, but at least there was a purpose.
Yeah, that's pretty much that. Obviously, I'll say Pat does have a small subplot where the wife of the wizard is trying to leave town. She wants her car fixed first of all, and then comes back later and wants to leave. And Pat shows some sympathy, and she kind of thanks him for it. It basically says, don't trust this town. Maybe consider leaving. And Pat's like, that's weird.
And then he looks in and sees all the kids stuff like the wand. He's like, oh, he wanted to be just like his dad. And he's like, wasn't he a councilman?
It's like he's putting it together. He's remembering the wizard.
Yeah. And he's figuring it out. And
then, so we see him at one point early in the episode, which it felt like a really random scene to begin with on its own, but obviously it bookends nicely at the end.
It felt random, but I did quite like this scene at the start as well. Just Pat going to this junkyard and being like, just looking for parts to fix up his suit and see what he can improve. I kind of like this. But
they're very questionable because the guy who runs the junkyard's like, you want an exhaust or you're trading in like an exhaust from a dump truck? What? That's weird. Why'd you have that? It's like, just.
I think he's buying it actually.
Was he buying it?
Yeah, no, and he's like, that's for like a dump truck. He's like, well, I'm working on a dump truck right now.
Yeah, but he sells a part as well though. Wasn't that part he was selling? Because he brings the part in.
Does he? Okay, maybe you're right.
And then
he just bought twice.
And the guy says, I'll give you no more than $19.99 for it, and he makes him carry it to the office. So that's the whole joke. So,
I thought he was buying that from him there, but maybe I'm misremembering.
Could have sworn he was selling it. But you may be right. Regardless, yeah, it sets up this idea of, okay, so he's getting parts for Stripe, and he's coming in and doing this. But at the end of the episode, when he's looking for parts at the end, he sees the wizard's wife's car, which has been totaled, which has been in an accident, and because he sees the cat first that was in the car sort of run up to him, and he recognizes the cat, and then he sees the car, and that's the end of the episode. It's a sort of cliffhanger. It's like, oh, did Icicle and Dragon King go after? Because this is a point to make. The scene with Icicle and Dragon King wanted the wizard's body for something, and Icicle's clearly sort of freaked out by this request, but he's like, yeah, okay, sure.
We can make it happen.
Yeah, because he's using Dragon King to build a device, something that Dragon King has been wanting to do for a long time, but Icicle's finally wanting him to build it as quickly as possible. So, super villain shenanigans. I will say I dig the look of Dragon King, especially the actual dragony skin underneath the hood. You can see like around the eyes.
It looks pretty good. I mean, we'll see how it holds up to full scrutiny in the light. Because it's all in shadows and in the room right now, but I mean, so far it looks pretty good.
I like that it's going full comic booky.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that. This show has not tried to shy away from that too much. Like, I think the Wildcat thing is the worst offense it's done in trying to be, well, let's be a bit more TV friendly, right?
I suppose, but they're still calling her Wildcat. She's still got a suit on. I feel because if you go back to any of the CW shows, or maybe not any of them, but certainly Flash and Arrow both had this problem where we have to kind of be less of the thing we're supposed to be until people complained enough that they gradually transformed into what they were supposed to be. There was that problem.
This is definitely leagues ahead of that. Don't get me wrong.
Remember the streak or the hood?
I wish I did.
Need I remind you that Green Arrow wasn't called Green Arrow until season 4?
I thought it was later than that, to be honest with you.
I think it was 4. I want to say it was 4. Maybe it was 5. It was 4 or 5. The point is, that's quite late. That's quite late in the game for that. Flash did get there quicker, but
he's still in his first season, right?
Yeah, it was still in the first season. It was like 7 or 8 episodes in, but it was that weird thing. Even something as simple as the emblem being the wrong color, it was like, okay, we'll fix that in season 2 since everyone's complaining about it.
Yeah,
which I did, and I was, because it broke up the flow. The whole point of the white circle is that it broke up the color. It was like this nice, change in the color, so it had like a scheme rather than just, oh, it's all red.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Anyway.
It wasn't again. That was one of those things where ultimately forgivable, I think. Like, it's not the worst thing ever, if that was the only problem.
I think, well, I mean, I hated how it looked like a leather jacket, but I hated that red emblem more than anything I hate about this Wildcat, so easily.
I mean, fair enough. But, I mean, for me, they're kind of comparable in that this Wildcat suit, well, I have problems with, given that it's the only thing it's shying away from, I'm willing to overlook it. If this was yet another problem that it was shying away from being comic booky and just being true to itself, then I'd be kind of a lot more annoyed by it. It would be compounding upon itself. But as it is, I'm like, whatever. I
think I would debate that it's trying to shy away from being comic booky. It's more just that it wants to add to what it is for lots of other reasons. I don't think it just wants to shy away from the comic bookiness of it.
Okay, when I say comic booky, I mean very specifically Wildcat. Like it's trying to be just slightly different to what it was, whereas everything else is very much embracing exactly what it was.
So, no. Digging the villain so far. The other thing I mentioned about Beth is that her mother basically said, hey, stop hanging around with me and your father and get some friends your own age. So that sets her up nicely as well, again, for the midnight stuff, that she's going to want to be involved.
Yeah. Barbara has pretty much nothing in this episode. I remember her in one scene at the start around breakfast, and that's
she just says hi to everyone and gives what's his face Pop-Tarts. Trey. No, that's Mike. Trey's the actor.
Say that didn't sound familiar.
Gives Mike Pop-Tarts. In fact, I will say I really appreciated the joke where he wants Pop-Tarts and Pat says, eggs won't kill you. Although I hate eggs, so I'm kind of on his side here. But I eggs won't kill you, but the sugar in the Pop-Tarts might. And Mike goes, who ever heard of sugar killing someone? And Courtney says, you're kidding, right? And he's like, no, why? I'm like, oh boy, you're in for a rude awakening, sunshine. As someone who wishes I could eat Pop-Tarts every day.
I have never had a Pop-Tart, but I have no desire to. They'd look revolting for me.
Oh no, Pop-Tarts are wonderful, but
I don't like a lot of sugary things though.
Oh no, I wish I didn't. It would make life easy. But Barbara has Pop-Tarts hidden in a cupboard, and he's very pleased about it.
Out of reach for him, no.
Yes. I mean, he's big enough to climb up on the counter.
Oh, I'm sure he is.
He can step in a chair and get up there. He's not, he's at that age where he's, the ingenuity is already clicking.
Oh yeah, we've been there.
Yeah. So I sympathize with him. I really do. But
I'd rather have the eggs personally.
Anyway, that is us. That has been the episode discussion for Wildcat of Stargirl. So let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Like is very important on YouTube. That lets YouTube know that it's worth recommending out to people who might like Stargirl reviews or TV reviews in general, or I don't know, two idiots talking about why Pop-Tarts are better than eggs. But you can, of course, support us financially over on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV for as little as $1 per month, and you can get bonuses and exclusives and all the rest of it. So go and have a look and see if you're interested. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?